Hey guys, we're back to Deadman 1010 and welcome back to another wrestling video. And on the last video what did we do? Oh yeah, we were discussing about Triple H now being head of creative, and for the record, he's still doing a sound job, which you wrestling fans will probably already know anyway, so makes no sense for me to be telling it. But point is, he's still doing a sound job. Returns, I think, have still been happening. I can't remember. But either way, point is, he's still doing a sound job. So, you can't fault him for that. But on to today's video in terms of subjective matter. And that is about Sasha Banks potentially, in the future, going up to Hollywood, because I have discussed about this on the channel here or there whenever like prediction videos or whatever have rolled around, in which her match is either being predicted or reviewed by me. I have discussed about that at some points here or there in those situations, but now is finally the time where I make a full, in-depth video on the idea of her breaking out into Hollywood. And furthermore, if all that wasn't enough, she should be coming back along with Naomi soon, I think, thanks to Triple H, which we discussed about on the last video. So, yay! So, there you go. So, yeah, that's apparently what's going on, as far as I know. So, there you go. Or there you go. Anyway, let's hop into the video.
Good mythical morning.
And please welcome Sasha Banks.
Hey!
Welcome to the show.
We got a WWE superstar in the building, Sasha Banks.
Sasha Banks, welcome back to this black curtain box.
Yay, I'm ready. I'm so ready for this Pocky Chat.
Her cousin Snoop Dogg. Yeah. So you're just like royalty.
So, as you can see, guys, Sasha's already begun her celebrity status, because you see her on Hot Ones, you see her in all sorts of other places, you see him in The Mandalorian, or her in The Mandalorian, you see her hanging out with her cousin Snoop Dogg that everybody and their mom knows. So, you know, so it's wraps from there on out. So that's why I've always said, like, she has the potential to bust into Hollywood, because she knows her worth, she knows her passion, she knows that she's legit and that she's the boss and that she's money and all these other things, and that she's charismatic as hell. Like, it's no secret, and she knows the popularity that she's got around her. So you blend all that together and, oh boy, it's a recipe for smoothies. That's all I'm gonna say. Like, it's a recipe for success. And I do firmly believe that that's going to be answered some point down the road. I firmly do believe that.
Everybody on their feet!
My debut in Hollywood, and I got to save Baby Yoda, and I'm in Star Wars.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to. Guys, she's even in The Mandalorian. Not that I've watched it at all, but hey, you don't even have to watch, I guess, Star Wars to figure that out if you're a wrestling fan, because you're gonna know it sooner or later. It's common knowledge. If you're a wrestling fan and you're a Star Wars fan, like Amigo over here, in other words, me, it's common knowledge. Simple as that. And pretty cool that she got to rescue Baby Yoda. People would have paid good money to do that themselves, considering of how cute he is and was in the film.
You have John Cena, you have The Rock. Where's that woman's name next to it?
Are you gonna break out and become that superstar of the world?
Yes, I am.
Let's go.
Yes, I am.
And that's how you do it, like a boss.
Yeah, she's even said it on occasions wherever she's gone that she does have plans to break out, and I don't blame her, because she has all the potential in the world to do that and to be successful in that mainstream publicity, like John Cena, like The Rock. You know, like, she has that in spades. She has the potential to make waves. Make waves. Even if her WWE career don't really say that, her popularity and everything else surrounding it more than make up for it. So, yeah. It's no secret.
Sasha Banks has secretly transcended into a Hollywood star over the last few years. It started with appearances on Wild and Out and Hot Ones, and then it eventually turned into a role in Star Wars' Mandalorian. She doesn't seem to...
I remember seeing her on that Hot Ones episode back in the day. I remember that. And then she rekindled that in recent years when she went on to it again. So, I remember that.
Want to stop the momentum anytime soon.
Fondly.
The lady wants to take over the world. Sasha Banks is truly becoming...
And who could blame her? If I were in her footsteps, I would be wanting to take over the world the way that she wants to. I mean, you want to make a name for yourself in this world. That's the way you got to do it. The way that Sasha has. That's the way you got to do it. Make noise. Make yourself be heard. It's not rocket science. I mean, some could say that I've been doing it sort of all my life, but hey, it's only gonna get bigger from here. Like, for any person looking to take that next step, for anybody, and Sasha is no different. Just like I'm no different. So I mean, it's common knowledge. It really is. As long as you got a brain and you've got common sense, this is an easy grasp for you, no matter who you are. So, yeah, I don't know how to explain it any more than I already have. Like, she's gonna make waves. She's gonna do her thing. She's gonna ride the waves of success, and I firmly believe that.
The next version of John Cena and The Rock. This isn't much of a surprise for anyone who's been following her career since her WWE debut. Banks has always been the #1 draw for the women's division. I took the liberty of looking at the Google Trends of the 4 horsewomen because they've been the pillars for the women since 2016. And
naturally, I've seen all of what they've done in my time as a wrestling fan. So, I can believe this statistic quite unsurprisingly.
In the past 5 years, whether it's web or YouTube search, Sasha Banks has dominated the group. That also applies to the last 12 months. The data is telling us that Sasha Banks is by far the most popular women's wrestler that came from the WWE system. With that being said, let's take a look at this graph of the top women and their...
So she's overshadowing Ronda Rousey, which is quite a big deal, obviously. She's overshadowing the woman in a lot of ways throughout the last 5 years, that being Becky Lynch. She's overshadowing the person who Vince pushed like it's nobody's business, like she was the greatest thing ever, that being Charlotte Flair. She overshadowed her. And then you got the unbeatable, for a time, Asuka. And then you got the extremely popular Alexa Bliss. And then you got her best friend, Bayley. She's overshadowing all of them, which I can firmly see that and believe that. So, there you go.
Championship reigns. As you can see, Charlotte Flair is at the top of the mountain at almost 900 days and 13 title runs. We then have Becky Lynch, followed by Bayley, Alexa Bliss, Asuka, and Ronda Rousey and Bianca Belair are at a tie. And I bet you're wondering, where does Sasha Banks fall on this graph? Well, it's right here, at the very bottom of this group of women. And this really puts everything into perspective. It shows just how much she's...
Yeah. Even though she's got the mainstream appeal, and she's probably going to get that someday, yeah, she's struggled to break out. She really, really has. Like, she's had moments here or there and all that jazz where she's done great, but overall, she's struggled to break out massively, which is a shame. It's a real, real shame. And I'm, out of those women, an Alexa Bliss mark. Like, the women's wrestler out of all of them, who I'm a big fan of the most, is Alexa Bliss. But even I can see how much Sasha has kind of been not neutralized in the way that the other women have. Even I can see that. So, there you go.
Been disrespected her entire career. I don't think you realize it until you see it with your eyes. She should be at the top of this graph, not at the bottom. Her WrestleMania record is also incredibly disappointing. Out of her 7 matches, she's only been able to win 1. 6 losses does not look good for a woman who clearly has the biggest fan base. And it makes you wonder, how in the world did WWE have such a top star that they never properly used?
Like, Alexa Bliss has a incredible popularity audience, and I know that because I'm one of them. But Sasha, at the same time, she beats her by a hair. By a hair. And I'm not even joking. Like, I am not even joking.
Utilized. Where did it all go wrong?
Ready for whatever life throws at it. Oak Furniture and Sofas. Feel the real difference.
Well, Vince was aware of this.
In that situation, like, you saw it there, guys. She was at the press conference for No Way Home last year, when that was ever growing in popularity in terms of people loving that movie. Like, she was there at the red carpet is kind of what I'm saying, actually. So, that also speaks volumes.
The entire time. It was actually a part of his plan all along, and that's when we get to the Hollywood theory. The theory is that McMahon never wanted her to reach her full potential in fear of losing her to Hollywood. So he's been limiting her for the last 8 years, not keeping her at the very top nor the very bottom, but right in the middle where she...
What's funny is I've basically seen kind of all of those 8 years, and if not 8 years, then majority of them, and especially the big ones, and I can fully see that, because Vince lost The Rock. He lost his biggest star before Roman Reigns, I guess, when it comes to big mega stars in the form of John Cena. So he's seen this situation over the last couple of years, and now he's willing to derail people's momentum in order for people not to get that mainstream rub like Rocky and Cena. So I can see that. I don't really condone it, but I can see it, which is unfortunate.
She doesn't ever grow too much. You see, Vince McMahon has been here and he's done it before, putting all his eggs into one basket only for that basket to walk away.
You look at Rock, you look at Cena, it's common knowledge. And now he's been putting his baskets and eggs and whatnot into Roman Reigns for the better part of the last 5 years. And now Roman's on a part-time schedule and could be leaving in the future to go to Hollywood. So Vince is very, very aware of this, or was, before he retired, of course. You know, he was very, very well aware before he retired of that fact. And therefore he did what he did to mainstream appeals like Sasha Banks.
The Rock and John Cena were huge baskets that got a little taste of Hollywood and never looked back, leaving the WWE dry without a top star. You could say the same thing was happening again with Sasha Banks, and that's why Vince McMahon intentionally held her back. The empirical evidence has always been there right before our very eyes. For starters, Sasha Banks is the most popular woman on the roster. Despite that fact, she doesn't have too many accolades or accomplishments to show for it. With the exception of one title reign that lasted 133 days, she struggled to hold a championship for more than a month. Sasha Banks...
Yeah. This is the one thing that I really, really need to rag on, because this is a bit of a you-know-what take. And that's the fact that before her latest reign, I was really, really annoyed with the fact that she was only really having a title for the better part of a month. And that never really did sit well with me. And therefore, I always got annoyed at that. Because it just felt so silly. Because she's supposed to be the most popular women's wrestler on the roster, and yet her reigns are always short-lived, minus her latest one, and that always baffled me, big time. I can't overstate that enough.
Also failed to win a Royal Rumble match or ever retrieve the Money in the Bank briefcase. In all of her biggest moments, she was met with shortcomings. For someone with so much star power, I can't see any other reason why Vince McMahon wouldn't put Sasha Banks as the #1 woman other than wanting to keep her trapped inside the WWE bubble forever. And so the years of
that would be the only reason in my mind, looking back at all this.
Treatment caught up to Sasha Banks over time. Put yourself in her shoes. You've got all the potential in the world, and yet you don't ever see yourself climbing the ladder of success. Whenever you take one step forward, you always seem to take 3 steps back. In 2019, you gotta watch your colleagues become the first women to ever main event a WrestleMania.
I mean, she wouldn't have shown any ill will towards that because it was a big deal as it was, but yeah, that's a bit unfortunate when you are Sasha Banks, you know? yourself in her shoes, it is unfortunate.
A dream of yours since you were a little kid. At that very show, you lose your championship to a team that should have no business beating you. This is when you begin to see the reality of the situation. You realize that you've been disrespected for far too long. The cracks begin to form, so you try walking away. But Vince...
I remember that. I remember when she threw a dolly out the pram in 2019 and walked out and all this other stuff after Mania 35. I remember that. Many thought she was going to go to AEW or just move on, or even go in to Hollywood, but obviously then she wound up back in the company after SummerSlam of that year of 2019. I remember that very, very well. Yeah. That's the thing about jealousy. It's a fickle, you know what? Especially when it comes to your best friend. Like, and I can see why Sasha probably did feel that way. I mean, I can't really relate to that, but I can see why. Because Bayley was having the run of a lifetime, and therefore carried the pandemic era alongside Sasha Banks as her lackey, as in Sasha being Bayley's lackey. Like, I can see that. I can see that wholeheartedly, especially as I witnessed it. So, yeah, I can see that.
Growing. Eventually, you earn a chance at the title and you become the champion, but that reign doesn't last too long. Then, WWE promises you a WrestleMania match with Charlotte Flair in 2022, and you're scheduled to most likely win the Royal Rumble, but those plans are immediately stripped away from you because Ronda Rousey decides she wants to come back. She is given the Rumble victory instead, and she is given that title match at WrestleMania.
Which should have never have happened in the first place, because they had an awful feud and an even awfuler match at WrestleMania. So they could have dumped Ronda to the wayside and still had that mainstream appeal with Sasha Banks, and it would have been fine, and they would have got a better feud and match against Charlotte out of it. The fans would have. But no, they had to kick Sasha out the moonlight and throw Ronda into it, only to have Ronda be completely unwatchable, and then some, and a feud and match at Mania against Charlotte be awful, be absolutely awful, and that's pretty diabolical when you think about it. Very much so. Diabolical, in my opinion.
Meanwhile, you're thrown into a meaningless Women's Tag Team Championship match to keep you somewhat satisfied. You take what you're given and you try to make the best of the situation. The goal is to bring back enough prestige to those titles to make it special. It doesn't matter to your boss.
Well, here's the thing. They never had prestige. Those women's tag team titles. That's why I took the living you know what out of them when they were being defended at WrestleMania 38 after not being defended for a whole year since last year's Mania before then. So I was very, very cold towards those titles because they meant nothing. And then you had Sasha and Naomi try to make them mean something, but Vince don't want any of it. So, yeah, that's a bad vibe and a bad thought for an alliance, or an alliance in every sense of the word.
McMahon couldn't care less about those titles, which means he couldn't care less about you. After 8 long years, you finally reach a boiling point and walk away from the thing you love most.
So because of what Sasha and Naomi did this past Monday night, they have been suspended indefinitely.
And Vince McMahon threw her under the bus while trying to do some damage control. He made her look like the bad guy. Because of it, some fans and even...
I remember that. Granted, it wasn't that long ago. But still, I remember that. Like, a lot of people weren't on Sasha's side. I was confused. I didn't know what side to go on, to be completely honest. I was half and half. Like, I didn't know what to do. Seriously. So, you could imagine my confusion when all this was cracking off. At the time that it did. And this only spelled more insanity for the WWE as time went on. But at the time, I didn't know what to think of it. Seriously. It was hard to process, you name it. Like, my mind couldn't comprehend it at the time, in more ways than one.
Colleagues, maybe friends, turned their back on her, and that was disappointing to see.
Wrestling's the only thing that I've ever loved, and I really feel like wrestling saved my life. I put my heart out there. I don't know what to say.
I can relate to that. Because when I was in my bag and I wasn't doing good mentally and even physically and I suppose emotionally, thanks to See Wrestling and subscribe to him, join his Discord. You'll have to follow him on Twitter in order to join his Discord, but either way, join his Discord. He's a great chap, and subscribe to his YouTube channel. But him and wrestling, I can relate, because him and wrestling saved my life. I wouldn't be where I am today without C and without wrestling. So I can kind of relate in a way to what Sasha is saying, in a way. So it honestly breaks my heart to hear and continue to hear what we are about to hear at this moment.
I'm speechless.
The entire situation destroyed the spirit and the soul of Sasha Banks. This woman gave this her all. Every ounce of energy, passion, effort, and love, all of it poured into this business just for it to never love her back. And in a time where she needed support from people around her most, she didn't get it. Backstage colleagues and coworkers had zero sympathy for Sasha Banks, calling her a diva. Some WWE fans turned their backs on her, saying she's nothing more than just a quitter. But I don't think these people can truly understand what Sasha Banks went through. This wasn't a single moment in time where she snapped and overreacted. It was 8 years in the making. Constant disrespect and mistreatment for nearly a decade will do damage. It was easy for WWE to take advantage.
Yes. And again, I can relate, because I threw my dolly out the pram after probably 5 years of liking someone, but them not liking me back in that same way, and even with the pain mentally, emotionally, and physically that I had to go through for 4 years, and in some cases I'm still going through now, and in other cases 6 years. I can relate. It's tough when stuff like this happens. It's really, really tough, and you want to have that support, and it's soul crushing. It can be soul crushing, and I can fully understand. It's like I'm on the verge of tearing up in this predicament, considering of that situation, because in a lot of ways I can kind of relate. It's that life is going to give you these situations that are made to kill your spirit, for lack of a better term, and that's when spirits become diamonds, and those diamonds become legends, and those legends end up never dying. And when you're able to be that way, it's, oh boy, it's raps. You get praise among praise. Believe me, I know. And I believe that Sasha is going to realize that one way or another when she eventually returns. I firmly believe that in my heart of hearts. I believe that.
Of a rookie who didn't know any better. But now, Sasha Banks knew better. She knew that she was worth more. She knew that she had more value to her name, and she understood what she brought to the table. And at first, I thought the Hollywood theory was about Vince mistreating her, and while it still is, I think it might actually be deeper than just that. That Sasha Banks had to make a decision.
Yeah. As much as Vince was the reason that she had to make that decision, see, she still made a bold one at that. And I mean that. A bold one. A very, very bold one.
A decision she didn't want to make, which was to choose Hollywood because there was no other option. The only thing she loved didn't love her back, and it didn't treat her right, and it made her feel like shit. Walking away was very brave, and I gained even more respect for her.
Like, I feel for Sasha. I don't entirely condone what she did, but I do feel for her in that way. Because after all the years of frustrations and pain and all that other stuff that I had to go through, I felt like, you know, like, I felt that way. So, and in a lot of ways, I still do. But I'm hoping that now, over time, in a way, that will all fade to black. Shout out Alistair Black. But I'm hoping that that will happen. But I'm not going to hold my breath. Because I've been waiting for that for the past 46 years. And I've gotten nowhere, in a way of speaking. So, I'm not going to kindle any hope on it, but we shall see. We shall very much see.
Because of it. It's hard for people to leave a toxic situation, but she wasn't afraid to do it. To this day, she still maintains a smile. With Triple H in charge, I hope he brings her back and treats her like the superstar she was born to be.
Indeed. That would be the perfect redemption story. And having said that, there's not a whole lot more I can really tell. Now I've pretty much spoken my take on that whole Hollywood theory in those past 8 years. So in that situation, yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, then like, comment, subscribe, share the videos, favorite the videos. If we get out to 150 likes, that'll be great. And yeah, join my Discord. We'll hang out, we'll chat, we'll do all these different things. And yeah, ciao guys. And you'll be expecting possibly a video tomorrow on this WWE 2016 retrospective. Best WWE year of the 2010s. There you go. That is what we'll be focusing on in tomorrow's video. Perhaps. I don't know. But it will be the next video up. Maybe. Just giving you a little bit of a hint of that. But anyway. Ciao guys. Hope you of course hit the like button, subscribe, favorite the videos, share the videos, join the Discord, and all those other things. And on that note, ciao guys. Or ciao guys.